Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new movie, Black Bag. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing. That way I'm not suspected of espionage and put away in a black bag for the rest of my life. This movie is directed by Steven Soderbergh, whose most notable films are Oceans 11 and 13, Logan Lucky, and Magic Mike. The synopsis is as follows. When his beloved wife, Catherine, is suspected of betraying the nation, intelligence agent George Woodhouse faces the ultimate test: loyalty to his marriage or his country. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. Pretty much in every single way, this movie drops you immediately into the plot without explaining much. In fact, the very first interaction of the very first scene of this movie is someone telling George that his wife is on a list of potential leaks within the intelligence agency. George says that he'll get to the bottom of it, even if it means investigating his wife. Now, George is something of a savant when it comes to surveilling people and finding out why they're doing what they're doing and what their habits are. In fact, he has an extremely strong internal urge to find out the truth and has a strong hatred for when people lie. This becomes his main drive as he narrows down this list involving his wife, discovering a lot of lies and deceptions along the way. In a lot of ways, this movie felt like a Poirot mystery movie. It's a small cast of characters, there's a mystery to be discovered, and George acts as our main detective. I liked the plot overall, and the final act of this movie was really well done. So regardless of that little hiccup at the beginning, I have to give plot a thumbs up. 2 is family friendliness. Black Bag is rated R. There's a moderate bit of profanity, a couple moments of brief violence, and multiple scenes of sensuality or sensual dialogue. Really, the only thing that pushed this movie to an R rating was the profanity, because quite honestly, the rest of the movie was pretty tame. But that's just the vibe that this movie wanted to go for, and because of that, for me, family friendliness gets a thumbs down. 3 is acting and script. The clear standouts in this movie are Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett. Not only was their on-screen chemistry fantastic, but their acting performances themselves were both very well done. Both are very mature and seasoned actors, and it shone through very strongly in this film. The rest of the performances in this movie were good, and the script of this movie, for the most part, was good. Like I mentioned in plot, the beginning of this movie was very confusing. Obviously, you can put together the basics, which is that George and his wife work at an intelligence agency and there's a leak. But as this movie drops you right into the middle of what's going on, it doesn't provide much explanation for anything else. And in that, the biggest issue that I ran into was understanding all of the jargon that was being thrown back and forth very quickly. And that felt like the first quarter of this movie. Usually with movies like this, you're eased into the environment and you can begin to understand what's being said. And that's the thing, is that this movie is very dialogue heavy, which is great when you reach the point of understanding what's going on. But it was kind of painful and confusing in that first part of the film. But outside of that, this movie had a very intelligent script and it was entertaining to watch. So for me, acting and script get a thumbs up. 4 is character development. While some movies are story driven, this movie is very much so character driven. And part of the mystery of this film is not knowing which of the characters are telling the truth or lying. And that's where you find yourself at the end of the movie, is understanding the why, but not necessarily understanding who these people are. But regardless of that, the mystery behind these characters kept you involved for the entire movie, especially watching the character dynamics shift between George and Catherine as the mystery continues and things continue to go unanswered. That suspense between characters is balanced very nicely in this movie, so for me, character development gets a thumbs up. 5 is visuals and CGI. If there was any CGI in this movie, I wasn't aware of it, and that was not the point of this film. Visually, a lot of the scenes in this movie are very dark, but they're balanced well enough that you can see what's going on, as opposed to other movies that just use darkness to cover bad CGI. For me, I had no complaints here. Although I will say this, there are a handful of moments in this movie that seem completely random. For example, George is making dinner for his friends and he gets spaghetti sauce on his shirt. And the camera focuses on it like it's supposed to be some sort of subtle detail that we really need to pay attention to. And you're holding it in your mind. And he says, I'm going to go change my shirt. And then he comes back and that's literally the end of that. And it's never called back to. It's not an important detail. And there are several moments like that throughout this film. Why they were included or focused on both visually or mentally, I don't really know. It didn't bother me. It was just kind of an odd detail that happened enough times that it was worth mentioning. but for all intents and purposes, visuals and CGI get a thumbs up. And 6 is rewatchability. Black Bag clocks in at just over an hour and a half long, and it felt a little bit longer than that, I think mainly due to the fact that it was just so dialogue heavy, but it was a really appropriate length for a movie like this. This film overall very much so is a slow burn, but because of how intelligent and mysterious it is, it does hold your attention the whole time. This is not an action thriller. In fact, there's barely anything like that in this movie. But to me, it definitely was a good watch. Like a lot of these kind of movies, I don't know that I would watch it that frequently, but I might find myself watching it again eventually. So for me, rewatchability gets a 50-50. With all these areas considered, I have to give Black Bag a 6 out of 10. This movie was a dialogue-heavy slow burn that had a lot of confusion during the first quarter of its runtime, but it had a couple of really good acting performances, some suspenseful dialogue and character-shifting elements that drove the plot, great on-screen chemistry between Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett, and a final act that made the movie really worth watching. I didn't really see a ton of advertisement for this movie, so I didn't know what to expect going in, but I'm really glad that I went to watch it. So with all that in mind, if you enjoy a good character-driven mystery, you might enjoy going to watch Black Bag in theaters. But just know, it's not going to be an action-packed thriller you're walking into. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Black Bag, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.